tell me about a division order department, right? You know, what typically falls within a division order department at an E&P company?
Sure. So that can look different based on, what company you work at. Some have huge division order departments where you're siloed in and you're doing one task, and other ones only have one or two people on their team. And so you're having to do everything from cradle to grave. But for the most part, generally speaking, division order analyst will go over title and set up wells and decks in the system for all of the ownership. And then
Okay.
you've got to go through and review, should this person be in suspense for XYZ?
Mhm.
And then send out division orders to the owners and get those back. And then you've got to pay attention to the state laws. Some states require division orders and some don't. And then it's the ongoing maintenance of owner inquiries, speaking with owners every day and getting those changes in.
Yeah. Okay. So let's break that down a little more. So you got title review, which is analysis of, let's say, a title opinion that's coming in
Mhm.
either before or I guess after a well is drilled and the production is established, right? Is that when that kind of
Yes.
kicks off the process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that typically will come from your title attorney or even your landman. Again, just
Depends
depends
on the
on how
workflow.
your company operates. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're reviewing a title opinion, identifying critical title defects and deficiencies and
Mhm.
things like that. And I guess there's typically a process for if there are critical, curative items that need to be done. Is that
Mhm.
typically handled through the division order department, or is it pushed back to the land team, or is typically that stuff generally worked through by the time it gets to your desk?
I've seen it mostly where it's worked through by the time it gets to my desk, but there are certain situations, where maybe they couldn't find complete probate documents. And so they've got an owner in the title opinion, and it's up to the division order analyst to utilize their skills and their resources to go through and find those probate documents prior to getting that owner set up on the deck so
Yeah.
we can make sure we're paying the correct person.
So I guess you tend to have two tiers of deficiencies or title defects in opinion. One is like least critical, like my lease is not
Mhm.
good, and that often is handled, before the well's being drilled or before it's at least put into pay. And then there's like the pay related issues, curative
Yes.
items, right? Where it's like,
Right.
hey, we feel good about this lease or this interest, but you need to clean it up before we pay. Is that
Right.
typically how it gets?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
typically.
And so from all that, you're consolidating all this ownership information. You feel good about the title, and then you're setting up a deck, right? Either
Yes.
does that is a deck set up generally? Is it set up within the division order department, or is it done from the land side and then pushed over? What do you tend to see?
Most often, I've seen it where the division order team will go in and set that up in the system. We're going in and we're putting in the decimal interest and we're putting in the pay codes and all of that. And then from there, your system can generally um, extract down or create a report, whichever, a division of interest. So that'll show the complete 1.0,
Yeah.
for
Yeah. The
ownership,
magic
that magic
1.0.
number. Yeah.
And so what does that
Yeah.
mean, right? It means you've got all interest accounted for. You're not
100%.
overcrediting someone. You're not, you've identified all the ownership, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
everything's is good to go. Is that, are there the systems that, that's entered in, are they tend to be more accounting oriented? Or are they more land oriented? Are they contract oriented or tract oriented? What do you tend to see the most commonly?
I've seen them both ways, honestly. I've worked in both, and I tend to prefer the ones that are more land friendly, if you
Tract
will, less
oriented?
accounting friendly. Yes.
Yeah. I think
Um,
most land folks agree to that, but the accountants always win
yeah.
because they control the
Yeah,
money.
exactly. Yeah. So and again, depending on what system you use too, it's, sometimes they're really finicky and you've got to know how to work the system. And some of them are just really user friendly and, it's not as difficult.
Yeah.
So,
You see it, man, with land systems, it's there's some great, there's some that aren't so great. There's some that are
yeah.
super sophisticated and hard to use. And there's some that are simple, but you wish you had some more features. It's like there's never that,
Mhm.
at least so far, it doesn't seem like there's this like great one size fits all kind of system.
No.
But I think one thing that, and I would love to hear what you think about this, is like it's the quality of what you put in. If you can really invest that time, to put
Correct.
good information in the system, you're going to get a good output, regardless of what system you're using, right?
Right. Yeah, I've been a part of some acquisitions where we got system data from the prior operator, and by the time it gets in your hands, you're like, "What the heck is going on?" And then you're undoing a title nightmare, and it's so yeah, it's important to have a good system that can handle your records, but it's more important to keep track of your data and to put good data in to
Yeah.
get good data
Stay
out.
on top of that. So, okay.
Yeah.
So you've reviewed your title, information is going into a system. You're adding up to one. You've got your division of interest built out at that point, essentially. Then comes the actual division order part, right? It's a
Yes.
department. It gets called the department, right? But
Hmm.
the division order is an actual thing. Tell everybody,
Yes.
what that is, what that process looks like, kind of how you progress outside of the system work into the, getting people into pay.
Sure. So a division order is just a form that is sent out to all of the owners, and it has a breakdown of the well or wells they're in and then their decimal interest. And that's sent whenever we set up the wells or from the get go. And it's sent out to all the owners. And depending on what state you're operating in, you may be able to put all your owners in DO suspense. And in some states like North Dakota and Louisiana, you cannot put an owner into suspense for division order. So everybody goes into pay as long as they're ready to go into pay.
Yeah.
And then the owners will sign and send those back in a perfect world, and they don't have any questions or any arguments over it.
Send it. Does that come with a W-9 too?
Yes,
Okay.
W-9, ACH form, usually if your company offers that.
Hmm.
And then they'll send all of that back. They'll make sure all the information matches and input it into the system. And from there, the owner's good to go. Now, sometimes you send those out and somebody receives it and says, "Oh, this is for my husband. He passed away. What do I need to do?" And then that sparks new changes and stuff. So
Yeah.
there's always a mass influx of owner inquiries when you send a division order out. So that's just something you always got to prepare for.
Just send it out with a hope and a prayer. Right.
Hmm.
But I guess you tend to see, obviously, makes sense that the more cleanup work you do leading up to that, the smoother that division order mail
Yes.
out and return process tends to be, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.